Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the show. And as you can tell, we have a very, very special guest indeed. Today, we are joined by Meena Rayann. You guys will know her as Yasmine from Warrior Nun, but also Vala from Game of Thrones. Meena, how are you today?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank
As I kind of briefly told you off camera, um, the push to get more Warrior Nun guests is huge. So I know the people watching this are going to be very excited today.
you. Amazing. I'm really excited. I'm excited.
We'll kind of go straight into it, really. Warrior Nun has
Mm.
been one of the surprise shows for me to come out in recent years. The fan base are pushing it so much, and it kind of really surprises me that Netflix never really pushed it as much as they probably, I think, should have. What's been the general reaction for you to see kind of the positive talks about Warrior Nun?
Oh, it's so heartwarming and it's so, I have to say, I mean, for me, it's not that much of a surprise because I think that we've done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Everybody's so on point and reading the scripts and all of that and knowing what we did, I was really looking forward to the release. So yeah, I'm very happy that we actually got this really warm welcome.
Hmm.
I'm yeah, I'm it's just, I don't want to say that it's like, oh, I expected it or anything, but
Yeah.
I think that we've done a really, really good job. Like all of us, the team, the writers, the production, everything is on point. So I'm
Mhm.
very happy that people have been able to see it and that it's gotten the praise that it
Mhm.
deserves.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So naturally, Yasmin joins us at the very beginning of season two. So
Mhm.
what was it like to join the show prior to sort of season one? Did you watch the show first, and what was it like to be introduced to the cast?
Yeah, I did watch the show. I mean, whenever I audition for something I that already exists, I always try to get, at least a couple of episodes
Mm.
in so that I can get the tone and I know the relationships, I know who I'm talking to if I've got if I'm talking to a character that already exists in the first seasons, in my audition pieces, then I know who they are and all of that. So I watched a couple of episodes and then I just couldn't stop watching. I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna get another one and another one. And so I just like watched a whole season in like not a couple of hours, but like what, 10 hours or something
Yeah,
like that. Pretty
I did
much.
exactly the same.
I just couldn't stop. I mean, so, and by the end, I was just like, okay, I really want to be in this show. And also reading the description of Yasmin, I was just like, I love her. Like straight away, I didn't have her whole arc or anything, but I just knew from the breakdown that I really loved her energy and her passion and her open-mindedness and all of that. So I just related to her and I really loved her. So yeah, that was I really I was really excited. And then meeting, an existing group of people who have worked together, you never know how that's going to go, especially you don't know if they get along or if there's like, cliques or if people don't talk to each other or if they just, are going to be like putting you aside or anything. But so I was a bit nervous, but it was all, it all went away so quickly when I met them because everybody has been so welcoming from everybody, not just the actors. I mean, like everyone from, production, from the showrunner, Simon is so lovely, from, the cinematographers. Chris was just incredible. He's got such an amazing energy. Um, Everybody, and obviously like the cast are just, adorable and so warm and welcoming and everything that I just didn't all my anxiety just flew away very quickly.
Yeah, watching the show, I think you can get the tone. I mean, I know shows, actors are incredibly talented people in what they do, but there's something about as an audience, you can watch the show and just imagine behind the scenes, everybody just clicks, everybody gets on well, and I think that shows quite a lot through the show.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so too. I think so.
Because obviously, so you must have been filming, correct me if I'm wrong, sorry, but were you filming sort of during the pandemic, during COVID?
Yes, yes, we filmed during the pandemic. It was not during lockdowns,
Right.
but we started filming. I flew to Spain on, I think, the 30th of June, 2021, and we had a period of about a month where we were just training, stunts and just like strength training and all of that, like
Yeah.
every day, which was a bit of a shock to the system, but very enjoyable. By the end, I was like, I think I'm addicted to training. Exercise. But yeah, it was during, I think we had, I think back in July, there was a little bit of a peak of like COVID transmission and everything. So the rules were very strict for us. We were not allowed to like, meet indoors. We were not allowed to go
Wow.
if you were to, you can go to a like to like grocery shop or stuff like that if it was like outside, indoors.
Mm.
So yeah, there were quite a few restrictions, but I think after July it kind of went down, and we're not as worried. But yeah, it was during COVID. I mean, we still are, you know
Yeah.
yeah, during a few of the shoots that I've done, there's been like cases. Thankfully, nothing serious every time. But yeah, it's I think it's something that's going to stay with us. Hopefully, just being less and less dangerous. But yeah, these are the new norms, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's
Mm.
something, to be honest, I think you're right. I think it's always going to be around now. Um, but
Yeah.
I think again, that's very, I want to give a lot of praise as well to, especially for yourself and the new people to join the cast, because the original cast, spent quite a lot of time together. So for you
Yes.
to obviously be introduced to a huge cast as well as having all these restrictions in place, it's amazing to hear that you were very welcomed and you had a great sort of connection when you went in.
Yeah. Thankfully, we were still able to like meet up as long as it was outdoors. So
Ah, okay, that's good.
it was fine. And thankfully, it was in Madrid during the summer, so we had plenty
Ah,
of options to go for coffees and everything.
yeah. So obviously, I know when you auditioned, you've known a little bit of background about Yasmine. Um, what were kind of did you have any expectations prior to shooting? Was there things maybe you expected to happen that didn't, or maybe vice versa?
Not a ton. I was wondering because I looked up her name, Yasmin Aminet. Where does that come from? And also like Coptic Christianity. I didn't know
Yeah.
much about it. Quite a few things, but I was really wondering where things were going to go. I mean, I guess I don't know if I can spoil. Maybe I shouldn't spoil anybody about the.
No. Hey,
But
if
there were
if it's
some
in
twists.
season two, go for it.
Yeah. There were some twists and turns, especially
Mhm.
concerning Miguel. And I
Yes.
was like, I think this is gonna happen. And but yeah, no, I was not I did not know much, and I was ready to be amazed, to be honest.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you first watched the show, um, I guess whether it's a viewer, obviously I know you were doing research about it, but did you expect it to kind of be as gory and strong and to kind of touch subjects that maybe is like whether it's sexuality or religion? Did you expect it to kind of go down that road?
Well, before I watched the first episode, just getting the title Warrior
Yeah.
Nun, I have to say it was a bit misleading. I was just like, is this going to be? And I looked it up and I found out on Wikipedia what Warrior
Mhm.
Nun, the comic, was, and I was like, is this what? And it's very different, even though I think it keeps the well, definitely like the adventure part and like the
Mhm.
the supernatural part and all of that, but I was not expecting it to be that gory, especially the second season. I mean, it's quite,
Yes.
quite intense.
Yeah.
And but I quite like it. I mean, I've been watching like other shows as well. Don't tell anyone, but obviously And it's always kind of weird when, I don't know, somebody, you know, stabs someone with a knife and then the knife comes out and there's no blood on it. And you're just like,
Yeah.
"Mm, I understand, but at the same time, like, you know, but yeah, I did not expect it to be that, you know, strong. And also the way it deals with the subjects, the topics that it touches on, you know, be it sexuality, be it religion, be it power, be it you know, feminism, or like just I think that it's quite, I think it's very well done. I think it's very,
Yes.
you know, subtle and smart, and it's not an in your face kind of thing, but at the same time it's not, you know, it is tackled. So I really appreciate the way that it's being touched on. So yeah, I'm very happy to be part of this as
Yeah,
well, because
absolutely. You know, and it's, you know, it's really cool to see shows, you know, touching the subjects, you know, as we said, with power, religion, sexuality,
Mhm.
and doing it in a very tasteful manner.
Yeah.
And I think Warrior Nun has the perfect blend of all three. Um, in regards to gory, obviously there's a particular scene where Yasmine and Mother Superior are in a room with all the bishops. What was it like filming that scene?
It was super intense. I would say for me, it was the most intense of the whole shoot. It was
Mhm.
just nonstop because it took us like, I think, pretty much a week filming that whole scene.
Wow.
Yeah, the scene obviously from the beginning when we enter and like
Yeah.
we get to, you know, and then we've got the monologues, Mother Superior's monologue being so bloody powerful. And then the slaughter, the massacre of the bishops and the cardinals and everything. That was a very intense to film. And it was both very uncomfortable, but at the same time, I really appreciate it's going to sound weird. I appreciated it because it really puts you in that as an actor, it puts you in that environment right
hmm
away. There's no like CGI or anything. It was like literally just VFX. So it was just like fake blood, a ton of fake blood, you know, fake injuries, and I mean the stunt team and that the whole choreography and all of that. um I mean, Lee and Kai were doing an amazing job. I mean, this, it was just, it looks so seamless, but I can tell you it took days to do.
hmm
But I really, it was not the most comfortable I've ever felt on a set, as
Yeah.
in like, physically just being
Mm.
soaked, drenched in blood for a few days. But I really appreciate, and I really, I've got a good memory of it now, now that it's done.
You
Yeah.
know, I'll never forget that scene because it was for me. You always kind of had that undertone of something's going to happen here, but it almost like they just went 100 miles an hour into it, and the onslaught was just something. I think you're just the audience's jaws just dropped, just seeing how much gore and blood there was everywhere.
Completely. I think that's the thing. It's like the shock factor for the
hmm
audience just as much as for everybody else who was there and like
Yeah.
unaware of what was going to happen. It's, yeah, I think it works very well. And I think Dennis Rivera, who directed
Mhm.
that block, did an amazing job with this. It was
Uh,
brilliant.
Absolutely. Um, so for yourself, as an actor, um, what was it like to get to play a character like Yasmin, and how? Because I can't imagine there's many roles to play a character, you know, that unique, and also somebody that was so. As season two went in, the fans really took to Yasmin and really sort of loved her. So how
Yeah,
was it? How was it for you to kind of play Yasmin?
I think it was a joy to play her. I really loved it. Also because she had so many comical moments,
hmm
which were like, you know, just reading the script, I was like, I can't wait to play this. Um, it would, I think, you know, it just like the energy of Yasmin just is so positive, and um it's such a to me, she's got like the energy of a kid somehow, but also like the mind and the brains of somebody who's just been studying and studying, and she's extremely smart, but she's got that like ability to marvel at things and to be amazed at things, that I think is something that we should never lose as humans. I think it's too
Yeah.
bad that we do sometimes lose that. And so it was a joy because I could easily somehow put myself in her shoes, and also like the way she was written, it was just like it made sense. It felt easy to transform whatever was written to make her, you know, mine somehow.
Yes.
But yeah, and I was really looking forward to the fans meeting Yasmine. I was really wondering whether, you know, would she have, you know, space on her own and everything? Would people
Hmm.
really notice her at all? And I think people have, because she does have that like very, very positive and adorable energy.
Yeah. You know, she's definitely put a stamp on the show, especially in the hearts of the fans.
Yeah.
And again, I think that that's a lot of appreciation for yourself, you know, because of how you portrayed her, and you know, and how she was also the character was written, because it's such a every character is so dominant and so um powerful to each fan. So for
Yeah.
you to kind of come into that for season two and to kind of make your own space, that's you know, a lot of appreciation for what you've done.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I really love how like each character really lives and has their own space. Like obviously it is the story of Ava, but
Hmm.
it's also like everybody around her and everybody
Yes,
that she inspires and everybody that she's that who supports her and loves her and that she loves back. And that's beautiful to behold, I think.
absolutely, for
Yeah.
sure. If we could kind of delve a bit more into kind of your life a little bit. So how did you start your acting career, or what made you decide to go into acting?
Well, I started theatre when I was about 10, 11 years old because I was extremely shy. I was, I mean, not shy per se, but basically, whenever we had to read, you know, when you're like in middle school and you've got to read, I don't know, in history class or in physics or geography class or whatever, you've got to read a paragraph, and the teacher says, like, you read the first paragraph and you read the second and you
Yes,
read
I
the third.
remember this.
Yeah, that was the bane of my existence. I don't know why I started like having panic attacks ish, not really panic attacks, but I would go into fits of laughter, nervous laughter, and I could not stop at all. To the point where sometimes they would take me to the nurse.
Wow.
Yeah, it was extremely embarrassing, and I kind of semi got bullied for it, not completely, but you know.
Mm.
And so I think it was the school counselor who was like, hey, why don't you try acting? And so I tried acting. My parents put me in like acting, like theater class in a local, like, you know, activities, like after school activity stuff.
Yeah.
I started theater and I just fell in love with it. I just absolutely loved it. And I just like I decided like, yeah, this is what I want to do. That's it. I found my
Wow.
calling. And also I think my dad has always been like he would always like show us films, like especially westerns.
Yeah.
But a lot of other things, like I don't know, Lawrence of Arabia, or like you know, big classics, or like Dr. Zhivago. I remember when I was a kid, and I was always fascinated by films. Like obviously, I didn't really know anything about it because my family's not in that at all.
Yeah.
Um, but I, yeah, by age like 11-ish, I had decided like, yeah, this is what I want to do. That or like directing films maybe.
Hmm.
And then I went on with theater classes and everything, and then when the time came to maybe go to uni, I was like, hey, I want to go to drama school. And my parents were like, oh, what are you talking about? That's not a real job. So I went on to study engineering. And then,
Wow.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I did that. I did finish my degree, even though I knew that it was not what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, still, I would go on doing theater and like short films and stuff like that. And once I finished engineering, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take acting seriously now, and then just do that. And that's what I've done. I moved to London, and the rest is history-ish. History that I only I know.
That's amazing to see that, how it's almost you can kind of take a negative experience at quite an early age, and then it can kind of mold you into a career that, even to this day, that's going to grow and grow. Um,
Absolutely. I
that's something that's really inspiring.
Thank you. I think it's my philosophy of life, or I try to make it like if
Hmm.
something negative happens, every, every single human being on earth will have negative stuff happening, and it's what you can do with it. It will happen. It has happened. It happened. It happens. What do you do
Hmm.
with it? Obviously, it's not. It depends on what happens and all of that. But I always think that there's a possibility of transformation. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
That's awesome. So you spoke about, obviously you started in sort of more theatre work.
Mm.
Um, is theatre still something that always interests you, or do you
Mm.
feel more at home now on like on screen acting?
No, I love theatre. I hope I never stop being on stage. I haven't done theatre since before the pandemic, though. 2019 was the last time I was on stage for a play. I've done like
Mhm.
play reads, readings and stuff like that, but I haven't done a proper like full run. But hopefully soon. I don't know. Putting that out to the universe.
That's it. That's what you got to do. You got to put things out there, and as I said, you've got such a long career ahead of you, so there'll be plenty of opportunities for things to come forward.
Thanks.
Um, if we could talk briefly, I know there's a few episodes, but um, what was it like to get a call to be on Game of Thrones?
It was insane. I remember getting the call and just jumping up and down in my
Hmm.
room. Like it was crazy because I was a huge fan of the show already
Yeah.
because it was like the fifth series that I got.
Hmm.
I got to be in the first series I did. I was just um yeah, it was amazing, and like being on set was amazing, and the people who I worked with, like everybody was so brilliant, and yeah, it was just an absolute joy being there, and such a huge lesson as well. Like I learned so much because it was my first TV. It was the first time I was ever on TV. I had done like a couple of independent films and stuff like that,
Yeah.
sort of short films, and mainly theater, and that was like big.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because that's something, as you kind of touched on. You joined around season 5, which is, I mean, the show's so heavily established by then. I mean, almost, well, the whole world is talking about Game of Thrones at this point. Um, how does so when you approach to have, let's say your first day on set, how do you approach that? How are you feeling when you're making set for the first time?
I was weirdly both nervous, and I guess maybe I was very naive as well. So
Hmm.
I both felt the pressure and not really. I don't know, it's very weird. I just like once I it's almost like when you get on stage, I still get stage fright. Every single play that I'm in, I'm just like, oh, maybe when you're just behind the like in the how do you call it? Oh my gosh, I'm going French right now. I'm losing my backstage. when you're backstage when you're backstage and you're about to first get on stage, and you're like, I could just leave right now. Why am I doing this to myself? I should just leave. But then you step foot on stage and then everything goes away somehow, and you just get
Hmm.
in there, and then the magic happens somehow. But the anxiety of the stage right before is insane every time. um and I guess it was kind of like that. Like I think I was really nervous, but once I was there, I was just like, okay, let's just do it now. Yeah, let's just do
Right.
it.
You know, I think it's always good because I always remember people always tell me, you know, the nerves and that feeling that you have is just because you care so much about it and you care
Yeah.
so much about what you're doing. So always having nerves. I mean, I think it'd be more worrying if you went there and were like, this is nothing, right? So like, I think that's good. But to be honest, you know, I can't even. So again, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, and I've watched it from almost since I think when the second season first aired. And I just couldn't even comprehend attending something like that at season 5. So, wow.
Yeah. It's I know what you mean. It's kind of it's so big. It
Mhm.
was I mean it was what the biggest TV series ever made, I
For
guess.
sure. Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, and by season 5 for sure it was definitely, you know, hold it
Yeah,
as that. And so yeah, but
absolutely.
I remember, you know what, maybe it's something that I don't know if it's him or not, but definitely one of my acting teachers, Dominic Kelly, who I did a lot of Meisner training with, who would always tell us, and I keep that in mind. I've kept that in mind ever since, that action is the best enemy of fear. Whenever you're fearful, just do it. Just do something.
Mhm.
Thinking about it is going to just paralyze you. Thinking about all the different possible outcomes, because our mind can tend to like go to the negative very
Yes.
easily. The best way to get rid of that is to just do things. And I guess that's my approach. Same with like, I still get a ton of like anxiety whenever I do any kind of acting project, anything. Like I've just finished a film. I did a TV series earlier this year, and like the week before, like the 2 weeks before you start shooting, I'm just like, what am I doing? I don't know how to act. Why did they choose me? But then you start prepping and you start, and when you've got the time, because sometimes you don't,
Mhm.
you just start working. You start like understanding your character. You start, you know, working on your objectives, working like um you know, detailing each scene, and then the fear slowly goes away until you start actually just shooting and doing it. And then after a few days you're just like, yeah, actually I think I know what I'm doing, let's just play now. But yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's so cool, you know, because I think for people listening or watching this who maybe again, it doesn't have to be an actor. You can kind of use that in any avenue or any dream or goal you want to achieve.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think that's really cool for people to hear, you know, somebody that's kind of gone through that and actively going through it. And I think that's really cool for people to be able to kind of try and use that in their own life. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, and having talked to a lot of actors who have had a much longer career than I have, I think it never goes away. So it's something that you've just got to take in with you and just accept that. And but know that there is a key um to let go, not let go of the fear, but somehow it's just you're afraid, but you do it anyway. So
Yeah,
that,
to get through it.
yeah.
Yeah. Were there any moments that maybe stick out in the back of your head that you recall on set, whether it was Game of Thrones or Warrior Nun, or any show or TV you've been?
I mean, so many. It's difficult to pick one.
Yeah.
Um, there is one moment where I mean, I was really amazed. I was absolutely amazed at the team on set with the Game of Thrones. Basically, I was in Croatia filming for season, was it yeah, it was for season 5, I think. Yeah, it was for season 5. And our sets were outdoors. One of them was like the kind of marketplace. I don't know if you remember, but anyways, it
Yeah.
was a marketplace.
Yes.
And it was like super sunny. I think it was in August. It was beautiful. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I was supposed to film on the Friday. I had like a 2 days off before filming my scene on the Friday. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go and do some sightseeing and everything. And then, so I had the first day off. I went on set to see the stands, who were absolutely brilliant. And then the next day it started raining like crazy, and it just didn't stop. It didn't stop raining the whole day. And we got flash floods, like up to like like 3 feet of water in the street. It was just absolutely insane. So my sightseeing just went away. I stayed in the hotel. Like, okay. But I got a text saying like, hey, we're really sorry, but the set has been flooded. So they're going to have to redo everything once it stops raining. And I got a text. I think my pickup was maybe at 5 a.m. or something. And so I woke up and they were like, oh, we're just going to be late by 2 hours, but somebody's going to pick you up. And basically they had to rebuild the whole thing during the night.
Oh my
And
God.
they were just late by 2 hours. And I was like, this is insane. Those guys are just,
Yeah.
it just tells you like the dedication and the talent and it's
I
insane.
mean, yeah, that's the sort of stories that, you know, fans and people can't even comprehend that that's even possible.
Yeah, right. Because you'd think like, yeah, it could be like in studio and everything is controlled, but this was like in Split, in the old city of
Yeah.
Split, which is absolutely gorgeous. But you can't. The whole thing was flooded. You just have to redo everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been your like friends or families sort of reactions to how well your career's going so far?
I think they're very happy for me. Yeah, they're very
Yeah,
happy. I know that like some of them were like maybe a bit worried when I
of
started
course.
doing this because they were like, you know, compared to like an engineering career where
Hmm.
you've got stability basically. This is much more difficult to sustain, and like the first few years, not just a few years, but like a long period of time, it was very difficult. I was working relatively regularly, but not, it was a struggle. Um, and you also, but it's very formative, I guess. But somehow, I don't know if it will ever go away, but there's always that fear of like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to work again? But then you just like, you know, if I never work again, I've had some amazing experiences so far, but I think I'll work
Hey,
again.
that's good. No,
We'll
of
see,
course
we'll
you
see.
will. You know,
Yeah,
it's I think it's back to that, you know, we spoke about kind of that fear and that like anxiety that you get before you go on stage. It's kind of the same when you're at home as well. You know,
yeah.
I mean, for me, I don't get me wrong, this is not on any way, shape, or form the same level. But even with this show, I always worry thinking, is this going to be my last interview? Is this the
Mhm.
last one I'm going to do? Because it's so unpredictable, but the
Yeah,
reward you get with that feeling is amazing.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think as long as you just keep giving it your all, you know, things happen. Things happen.
Hmm.
It's not. I mean, I'm maybe still naive. I don't know, but if it means, I don't know, keeping positive and
Yeah.
just you like imagine things, set your goals, and then do everything you can within what you can control, basically. Always with kindness, obviously, and respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no reason why it wouldn't work somehow. I mean, not thing is like, what is the goal? What is, I mean, I'm getting a
Hmm.
bit philosophical or something, but like, what is the aim, Is it
Yeah.
like money? Is it fame? That's not easy to get. Or like
Mm.
I think there are much easier ways than like an acting career. That's what you're looking for. But
Yeah.
but if it's like, you know, playing great roles, meeting amazing people, you can do that at like any level. And yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, so if you had one, I mean, you may have already done it, but if you had one dream role or a dream movie, what would it be?
I really don't know. I keep asking myself that, like, what is it that you really want? I think maybe it's I want a lot of things. I don't want just one role or like one
Yeah.
thing, one big. I just want to be able to experience many different
Hmm.
roles. I think what I want is to work on on different characters, but especially work with people who I admire, people who I respect, people who I love, people who and that the feeling would be mutual. You know, I really realize now that it's really the people who make this worth it as well. Because if you do the greatest role of your life, but you spend a miserable 6 months doing it, I don't know if it's actually worth it. I don't know. I don't know.
Right. No, that's good. You know, and I think with acting, I mean, I think that the one thing you're always guaranteed is variety, right? You're always going to have the opportunity to do different styles and different characters. So, yeah, that'd be amazing. It'd be
Yeah.
interesting to kind of see. So I'm definitely going to keep tabs on where you go going forward, because I think it'd be really interesting to see what you end up doing next.
Thank you.
Um, one final thing. Again, we back to kind of Warrior Nun. You know, I want to really emphasize how dedicated the fandom is to the show. And as I said to you off camera, the push that I've had to get guests, the push that we've had to get season 3 renewed. I've never seen anything like it. So, if you have anything to say to the fandom, what would you say?
Thank you so much. I see you. I see what you do. I see the messages. I haven't been able to respond just yet because I have been shooting this film. I flew back just on Sunday, and yesterday I slept like 14 hours, just like a cat.
Wow.
But I definitely want to like get in touch with people and respond and share the beautiful artwork that everybody has. So many people have been sending me, and all the love, and I really appreciate you guys, and I am in awe, and I am so thankful of you pushing for a season 2. And you know, I am blown away. I am blown away by people's not just the fandom, not just the love for the show, but also just the kindness. And you know, it's not an aggressive fandom that kind of, I mean, I've experienced that sometimes. Let's not name any names or anything, but sometimes it's been a bit like intense, where you're like, oh, chill, I'm a human being on the other side of this.
Yeah.
But this, people have been so respectful and so kind, and so, you know, it's been beautiful. And so my promise is that I'm gonna start responding or trying to do the whole like Warrior Nun Wednesday. I think I might
Yes.
get a Twitter account for this. Maybe I'll delete it afterwards, but
No, and you know,
yeah.
I think you've put it perfectly, that again, with a lot of shows, there is always a divide with fans, whether it's someone likes a favorite character or somebody likes this couple over that couple. But with Warrior Nun, the actors, the cast, and the fans just feel like everyone's in sync, everyone's one family, and that's what's beautiful about it.
It is. It's yeah. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Meena, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you as well. And love for the fans, and fingers crossed for a 3rd season. Come
We
on.
will make sure there's going to be a season 3. We have to.
They have to. Come on, guys.